In the trenches. The air was cold in the trenches that night. It was late, and a young soldier, Arthur, was on guard duty. The trenches were extensive and built like a maze, so bumping into another soldier was unlikely. The only sound was the soft pattering of rain and wind, and the sloshing of mud and water below Arthur's boots. He carried his rifle, rested on his shoulder. He was trained to do this, and it was his task every night to keep out any enemies from the opposite side. Of course, they had a few trained snipers, but you never know when the enemy could hatch a brilliant plan. The light rain mixed with heavy winds only made his job even harder. As the tedious task of patrolling around his normal route continued, the rain turned from a light sprinkle to a heavy downfall, and the wind picked up considerably. Arthur couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of him, but he pushed against the headwinds and the pouring rain, and trudged on anyway. He was taught to never let nature hinder his main objective, no matter how bad it was. Hours later, the wind was still howling around him. Arthur was pushing with all of his might, trying to keep his balance. Although he had promised himself he wouldn't give up, he knelt down for a breather. Though the night air was cold, especially with winds and rain mixed in, sweat ran down Arthur's face. The wind died down and Arthur could now see farther in front of him. When he looked up from his position, he spotted someone unfamiliar. The stranger was bulky and wasn't wearing any uniform he had seen before. He was taught what all of the uniforms looked like, and didn't recognize the one the figure wore. It was a dark brown coat, half buttoned up. Arthur did what he was taught and raised his gun. He thought about putting on his gas mask, thinking that a chemical attack may be imminent, but it was too late. Arthur already had his gun trained on the figure's head. "Halt!" Arthur barked at the figure. The figure turned to Arthur, their eyes meeting. The figure's eyes were dark, glossy, and clearly visible even in the darkness. It had long, dirty, white hair protruding from every visible inch of skin, almost like a coat of fur. The figure's nose was pink and pressed into his face, as of that of an animal, like a cat or a dog perhaps. Arthur quivered at his massive size. "Put your hands up," Arthur said, ready to pull the trigger at any moment. The figure did not comply to Arthur's commands. "You asked for it," Arthur muttered, and without hesitation, pulled the trigger. The figure flinched, but the thick fur blocked the bullet. Arthur dropped his gun out of fright. He went to pick it up, but it was too late. The figure dashed towards him. Arthur reacted by pulling out his service pistol and firing a couple of rounds, to no avail. The figure slashed into Arthur's chest with what he assumed was some kind of blade. As Arthur flew back onto the mud, holding his chest, he soon learned the figure had claws. Long, black claws. Arthur scuttled back, hoping the creature that was attacking would have mercy. The creature lifted him and tore into Arthur's neck, before dropping him to the ground again. Arthur lay clinging to life, looking into the eyes of his ferocious killer. He choked on blood and mucus. He managed to sputter out a few words, coughing up more blood in the process. What are you?" Arthur asked, terrified beyond words. The creature just smiled, examining a job well done. It chuckled a hearty chuckle before gazing back into Arthur's eyes. Its friendly grin contorted into a twisted smile, revealing rows of sharp, pointy teeth. My boy," the creature started. Arthur was moments away from death, holding back tears while bleeding out. My boy, and Mr. Trenchfoot." As Mr. Trenchfoot tore the dog tags from his neck, Arthur's eyelids grew heavy. The killer opened a pocket to reveal a whole collection of them. His was just another statistic. He closed his pocket and trudged off. The last thing Arthur saw before fading into death was his killer's dark, glossy, evil eyes.